Right. All right. We're up. So
I didn't check them all, Brett. I know Horseshoe
about,
Bend won their first round. I think it was at Highland Home last night. Baseball.
I think so. Yeah.
I know it was on the road because I don't think they won their area.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I have not looked at it.
I don't know if the last email that Ron sent over. I need to post those this morning. If you'll remind me when we get off the show.
Okay.
All the scores.
Yeah.
I never looked at the rest of them last night, so I don't know who won and who lost.
Yeah, I didn't. Only one I knew was us. So let's see real quick.
You're just tuning in. This is TV version of the show this morning. Brett and I just kind of shooting it up until that point, but TV will come on at 7. We'll stay on until 9 this morning. You'll see commercial breaks. We're just feeding the stream
Right.
Through our podcast. So it sounds like we're not going anywhere. It's because we're not. It's kind of normal anyway, isn't it, Brett?
Yep. I'm on there so much during the week now. I don't know which ends up most of the
time. You're talking into a camera more than you're talking to normal humans.
I am. 100%.
I don't know about that, though. You put out a lot of fires, Brett Pritchard. So
yeah, I don't have to do it face to face a lot of times, though. Just sometimes. I'm trying to find my little schedule. So we got, what, about 3 minutes?
Okay.
Somewhere around in there, guys.
Boy, the transfer portal's
good God.
Full effect in basketball, isn't it? Heck, I guess it's in full effect for football,
it's in full effect for football, too.
But basketball for Auburn right now, we're watching closely. Gosh, I'm glad we got it.
Pick up a couple.
It would have been a sad year next year.
Well, everybody else is. Well, Baylor lost their whole team. I mean, it's not just us.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everybody.
You know, it's players it's a lot of players you don't expect to.
Almost, you can't expect anybody to come back anymore. Doesn't matter.
Like if you'd told me Mo for Alabama and CBM for Auburn a month ago would be leaving to go test the waters, would you have guessed either of those two would, of all of them?
Man,
I wouldn't have.
I don't know that. I don't know. I don't know anymore, man. I don't know that I give much credence or faith to anybody anymore, even though, yeah, I mean, you would think those two were pretty bought in where they were.
I thought they were.
But
talking about transfer portal, Luke, if you'd have told us a month ago that Mo and CBM for Alabama and Auburn would be hitting the portal in a month, I wouldn't have believed that. I would have probably picked a few others before I picked those two.
Yeah, especially considering that I think CBM is a little more distressing overall because it sure felt like, hey, Auburn had his back a few times. I mean, let's face it, he's been sort of a jackass on the court several times. And, you know, while he's good, his talent didn't warrant all the forgiveness he got. I mean, he was good. He's not great, but that's just the way everybody is. They want more money. I mean, they feel like everybody feels like they're worth $1 gazillion.
It's out of hand. It's just, it is so out of hand, and it's so greedy, and it's so, I'm all about everybody going and getting theirs, man. But at some point in time, there has to be a bigger picture. And I think, and I know we'll talk about Nico, but I think it was a small victory for college sports, him having to take a lesser deal. I mean, you know, sometimes you want to go out there and shop. Yeah, okay, go shop. May not be exactly what you think. And
Luke, what soccer do you have going on before we go on there? Is it like an over the mountain league or what is it?
No, it's just BUSA. It's Birmingham United Soccer Association.
How many, is it a lot of communities that are involved? in that?
Well, there's more this year, and I don't know why, but Alabaster's in there.
Okay.
A couple of Catholic schools, I think, because they couldn't, maybe they don't have their own league. We're playing some Catholic school day, and we got no subs. What a terrible day to have a soccer game, because 3 of our players are like, hey, we already had commitments for Easter to go out of town, see grandparents and stuff, and so I got 0 subs today. Which Sela's like, all right, that's great. I'm like, well, okay, but
30
some
seconds.
of them are going to die.
Yeah, I was wondering, y'all have got it. Brett and I were talking before you came on. Got so many teams within a 20-mile radius of each other.
Yeah.
And good teams, well-coached teams. Makes it easy.
Well, it does, but I mean, we had to go to Alabaster to play our first game. And that's, you say it may only be 20 minutes, but it ain't like, it's different 20 minutes. It's like weaving
5
and bobbing
seconds.
through all the stuff.
Yeah.
5 seconds. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Sports Split Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air here on this Easter weekend Saturday morning. We hope all of you are having a great weekend. Looks like the weather's going to be great, which is always good for Easter, and there's a lot going on this time of year. It's good to see both of you this morning as we get rolling here early. Again, man, I don't know. We have 2 hours, but we got about 4 hours worth of stuff to go into. But that's a good thing. So we have plenty to talk about, and we'll take your comments on YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you get those rolling in. We love to interact with all of you out there. We can start in multiple places, and we're going to obviously talk Auburn, Alabama sports, transfer portal, NIL, all that good stuff. I want to start with the news, and we saw this and we talked about it yesterday on the show at lunch, and we were on location at JR Sports Bar and Grill yesterday for the Auburn Blitz. The kid, the Pritchett kid that turned down $750,000 from another school out of state to play high school football, transfer from Thompson High School. And, I don't, I'll let you guys start. It's great. I mean, we knew this was coming. We knew, offers were being made. I mean, Trent Seaborn supposedly turned down $1 million offer last year to move on somewhere else. Randy, I'll start with you first, and then Luke, over to you. This, at some point in time, all this has got to come to a head.
Well, it's beyond me on how it works anyway. I can get it maybe if it's a training facility like IMG that needs the hoopla around it to grow and to make money. But from a high school local community standpoint, to spend that kind of money. Now, if you told me somebody was, if you told me a mom and a dad were going to get a job in a community, and maybe you figure out how to get somebody a place to live along with that job, but that job's going to be at least something that's reasonable and worthwhile, and then maybe a few $1,000s here or there, I could grab that. But $750,000 for high school football,
Getting somebody a job looks like chump change now.
Well, and I think that's gone on since football was accepted. Let's don't kid ourselves, especially in the old mill villages. I mean, how many conversations have we been in, the 3 of us, over the years, where you'll be in a community that was a textile mill village, and they talk about ringers that they brought in to work in the mill, and hell, they played high school football all the way up until they were 22 years old. I'm sure Luke's granddad had them on his team back in the 30s, and we actually talked to Mr. Hardy about that with a few that they had around in the Dayville area back in the day. I think was the joke that he was saying, Brett. But back to this one, $750,000 for a high school defensive lineman? Really? Like, what is it going to bring that type of value to the school? Is it that important to add a player to win a state championship in a local community? Seaborn, over $1 million to a high school kid. Is that at a public school? Do we know which school made the offer?
No, but
kind of, sort of, but it's not official.
No, but the assumption is it was a school that does allow NIL,
right?
And I mean, a state that does. And Toolman Kirk says, why would that not be against HSA rules? Because it wasn't another school in Alabama.
Correct.
That's right. And Mark Freeman allegedly echoed this and said, "Hey, yeah, this happened." Allegedly, I didn't.
Well, I
see
mean, the kid's got a quote out there talking
Yeah,
about this. So
here's
I
my
mean,
thing.
it happened.
Here's my thing. Number one, I mean, that's a good point by Randy. How does it bring $750,000 worth of value? Unless you're thinking, okay, we get him here, and then we sort of have him under our thumb a little bit, or at least have a big leg up on getting him where we want to go to college. And maybe we also have a leg up in terms of we have some kind of long-term return here where I'm throwing out a name.
I bet
A big brand like Coca-Cola that said, okay, we'll pay you $750 now, but 5 years down the road when you sign an NFL contract, we get a little bit of a discount, but you're going to get more money from us. Like it's sort of, you pay them on the front end and receive on the back end or something. But my other question is this. I mean, you guys know better than I, but we've all done things like try and raise money for various football teams, basketball teams to get new uniforms, new helmets, new shoulder pads, all that stuff, just travel expenses. And I don't think the three of us over our lifetimes have raised 1/4. No, excuse me. How about 1/100th of $750,000? I mean, when we go somewhere and say, "Hey, can you help donate for shoulder pads?" Some people are very generous and might give $1,000. They might. Some corporation might in our local community. But usually it's more like, okay, I'll give $250. I'll give $100. I'll give $50. I'll give $20. That's getting $20 a pop takes a lot of them to add up $750,000. So what my point is this: where the heck were all these people when the kids actually needed new pads and new stuff? And now we're just handing out $750,000 to a defensive lineman. I don't know. It's a little dirty. It's not dirty because I don't want to make it sound like it's the kid's fault for being offered. If somebody comes to you and says, "I want to give you $750,000 for your talents," it's not your fault that they perceive you to be this good. But it is sort of, ooh, I don't like this anymore. This is weird.
Okay, let me talk about the nefarious side of things. I don't think any high school is paying $750,000 for any kid. Okay, so you kind of started down a slope, Luke, that where my mind went yesterday. There's more to this than just the cover, and there's some deals behind the scenes, possibly with some colleges that are steering that kid to that school to give money to that school, which in turn maybe they're funneling the money to the school to help give to the kid. I mean, there's no high school paying $750,000 for one player, so it has to be coming from somewhere else. And I don't care if the three of us were billionaires. I'm not paying $750,000 for any kid to come to any high school. Period. I mean, I'm just not going to do it personally. So there has to be a motive behind it. Okay. And it's like Luke said, the kid's really not the one. The kid's just being offered. The kid really is the pawn. The kid's talent's what you want. All right. So, yeah, it's great to play at high school to have that kid, but that's not doing anything for that high school or that community. It's really not bringing anything to the table. So it has to be being funneled through somebody else for an ultimate end goal somewhere down the line. That's the only thing I can come up with that rationally makes any type of sense. And if it's not being done that way, and they really are paying $750,000 for one kid, that's one of the dumbest things I think I've ever heard. Period. That's just my take.
Well, I think Luke makes more sense than I do. And I think his head's in the right spot with it. And that is, you're going to have, say, Nike, Adidas, one of these big brands out there that want to have somebody under their umbrella in the long haul. Let's say that one public school in Georgia. I've heard the same two schools that y'all have. So, I mean, look, we're all on the same page. We all hear the same schools. Every time one of these is brought up, the same couple of schools over in Georgia are brought into the mix. And it's not only for football, it's for basketball especially too. I mean, we just had, the kid from Buckhorn, Caleb Holt. Yeah, head over to Georgia to play at a public school. Everybody knows NIL is available over there. It had to be a big number to get him out. He's going after his third state championship in a row and what his second or third straight Mr. Basketball in the state of Alabama to head over there. It had to be a good reason that he was heading, and he was coached by an unbelievable public school coach here in the state of Alabama. It's not like he's going to go over there and just get immediately way better coaching and way better tutelage that's going to lead him to college. That was not the case. Whoever he went to is not going to have a better high school coach than they had at Buckhorn. I don't believe it. So, you know, there's a game to be played there. And I don't know if there's an end game in mind, Luke, like you bring up, where you say, okay, here's Nike, and I want to have you under my thumb. And X High School in Georgia is a Nike school. And we're going to funnel money through here, whether it be to the coaches, whether it be however it needs to work out. And then Georgia's a Nike school. And we'd love to see that defensive lineman who's in the state of Alabama right now that's got a good chance to go to Auburn.
That's what I was.
Which is wild, or Alabama, about, yeah. Because heck, Auburn's got their foot in the door at Thompson High School finally. Took a while, but they've got it in there. And instead of steering him in that direction, if I get him over to Georgia, I got a lot better chance to get him to Georgia. I see that a lot more, and I didn't see it before y'all two brought it up.
I mean, it's the only thing that makes any sense. I mean, there's got to be an ulterior motive somewhere other than the high school is just the middleman. Okay, that's really it in a nutshell. And look, I talked to Mark Freeman for a long time at football practice the other day, and you know, frankly, I know he's frustrated because Thompson gets a bad rap about players coming in and all that. And he said, look, I've offered to do whatever. He said, people can come up here and look at whatever we do. And I think he really was genuine about it. And I'll say this about Trent Seaborn and the Pritchett kid before we get our first break. I think that shows a lot about the program of Thompson and these kids going, you know what? I can get some money now. But the bigger picture is I'm in a great program. I trust the people that are coaching me and developing me. And the long run game is going to be better for me than the instant grab, which I love. And I hope maybe I'm being a little naive here, but I'm hoping that really is the case, that these kids are like, why would I leave this program to go to another one to roll the dice on money right now when I know long term my money can be a lot more? So, that's just my take. We'll keep this going. We got to get to our first break. Luke, I'm going to continue to get your thoughts on this. We're just getting started here on the Saturday Sports Countdown. More to come right after this.
I don't know if either one of y'all watched Bill Maher at all, but I have, even when he was perceived to be like ultra liberal. Just because
I like him.
I do like him, but now he's probably more centrist than most of us. And he had a great take last night. He was like, look, and I'll work it around to this point, but he said, even if the tariffs work and we bring back all this manufacturing, who's going to do the jobs? You think Gen Z is going to show up at the steel mill? He said, they can't work in a factory. They can't even work in a cheesecake factory. And he said, you know, their whole thing is, how do we not work anymore? They have NILF, not in the labor force. You know, and I think that's also kind of where some of the players are. Like, I want to make, and again, I'm not trying to fault them necessarily, but they're like, I want to make as much money as I can doing as little as possible.
That's the American way.
Rough and drag.
That's the American way.
Yeah.
Do little to nothing and demand some outrageous price tag. We all think our value's way more than it probably is. And we are so idiotic when it comes to sports and so fanatic, where the term fan comes from, that we just do all this. We'd sacrifice everything. We'd take out a second mortgage if our team could win a national championship. I mean, there's people out there that do that, you know, and then the more we go down this line, the more I get turned off. So
I'm with you.
I know more than I want to know on this subject. I talked to Austin a decent amount about it because both of our companies use some of the federal programs that Brett's working for a little bit on the side too now, Luke. But do you know the percentage of the potential workforce in the state of Alabama that doesn't work? Workable age population that doesn't hold a job in the state of Alabama. What's that percentage?
I have no idea.
43%.
Yeah.
Of workable age, not 43%. Like that's
hey, hold
ridiculous.
up, not on disability.
Yes,
that's not a disability number.
Right.
take the disability number out. There's more, a lot more when you consider
But
disability.
43% of the actual people that could actually hold a job
do
not.
Somebody's got to explain that math to me, how that's going to work out.
Well, it's the middle class keeping everybody up. Look, I mean, you either ultimately rich, ultra rich in this country, which taxes and problems don't matter to you at that point, or you're down here at the bottom and you're living off whatever, and you don't have any worries either because everything's getting taken care of. The stress is on the middle class. We're out here killing ourselves to pay for the deficit that, that's been established in this country. I mean, it's just the truth. If I sound bitter, I am. Just going to throw that out there, especially a few days ago when the 15th of April rolled around. We got 15 seconds. Work my tail off just to hand it right back.
I mean, I'm talking about you just, here's the big barrel full of stuff I don't have anymore. You just take it.
Yeah, here. All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. We're giving tax advice and life advice this morning on the show. Anybody want to give their 2 cents worth? It is wide open. Go ahead and do that. We'd love to hear from you. I think, tongue in cheek, laughing about what we're talking about, it really is sad. And I've told this to Randy before. And I know players move around, and this is going down a whole different path. I don't want to confuse this, but I got to say this part to get to the point I'm making. I'm all about a kid feeling like he's got to go somewhere else to get better coaching and get in a better program. And if they make the move and the family makes the move, I'm fine with that. Look, that's the real world. You leave one job to go to another, because you feel like it's a better situation for your family. I get that. But all of the loyalty in high school is eroding away. And that's what made high school football, I guess what made college football so great. And that's what's making us throw up in our mouth constantly about college football now is there's not any loyalty anymore, really. There's still some, but not near what it was when all of us were growing up and even our parents were growing up to play for that school and what it meant. Well, in communities now where you're playing in high school, I mean, it was a sense of pride and, you weren't going to be good all the time. And, some classes came through were better than others. The loyalty part of the whole game has eroded away and is eroding away in high school too.
I'll jump in there first. Let me jump in, then I'll kick it to you, Luke. But, we're a transient society now. And you can like it or dislike it. But I think the community the three of us grew up in is a microcosm of the United States as a whole. I mean, we grew up in a community, and Luke's family had a really great business, too, that employed, a certain amount of people, but not enough to make up a community. But we grew up in a mill town. We had 8,500 employees. And I'm going to guess 10% of those employees are white-collar positions that really drive and feed a school system like Benjamin Russell, Brett. And you didn't have to move and live all over the place. I've heard a crazy stat out there of how many people live in Tallapoosa County but drive outside of Tallapoosa County for work. That didn't work. I mean, y'all speak up, but that didn't happen when the three of us were growing up. All of my friends' parents worked in Elliott City or around. Did they not, Brett? I mean, I'm trying to think of a friend of mine that had a parent that had to travel outside of the community for work. It didn't happen. So I think that's going on everywhere. And it's part of the political structure that I think Trump's at least trying to change. And now whether he's able to is a different story altogether. Whether we're going to be able to get people back to work's a different story altogether. But I think it goes straight down the line into the high school ranks. If you're willing to travel all over the place for work, are you willing to travel all over the place for schooling? And the answer has become more and more, I'm going to find Mark Freeman. And I got a lot of trust in Mark Freeman. And I live in Pelham, Alabama. But I'll look across the city line over to Alabaster. And they've got an amazing program, and my kid's talented. And I trust Mark Freeman. And I'm going to get my kid to him. So you can like it or dislike it, but I don't think that's coming back into the fold. I think those days are over.
Well, it's very difficult to convince people that you learn more from your failures than you do your successes, because success seems so easy. I mean, you think about how much money some of these influencers make. And that's what I was talking about with Bill Maher the other day or last night. I watched his, the last rule or whatever he does, this big long soliloquy that usually is pretty poignant. And he mentioned that, I talked about it off the air that the Gen Zers, and again, I'm not trying to blame a whole generation here, but he said, this is his talking, Gen Zers just don't really want to work. And he said, look, even if all the tariffs work and we bring back all these steel mills, or, are they going to work in those steel mills? They're probably not. And then he showed a clip of a influencer who says, basically, his name was Bacteria Boy. That's what it was. I was like, that's so dumb. That's his like influencer name. And he said there with a pretty effeminate voice, and he's just sitting there eating like an apple in caramel sauce. And it is so weird. And he's sitting there eating, and he said, there'll never be another draft, because if they have one, my generation just won't go. We just won't go. And he was like, look, and plus my generation's also mentally ill. Look at all these pills I'm taking. And I'm like, and Bill Maher was just shaking his head like, that's the problem, is everybody has to have an emotional support animal on an airplane now.
This is the softest.
Well, you know what?
Softest society.
Maybe you just shouldn't be flying if you can't fly without your pet armadillo. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying I have a fear of flying. Let me tell you what, I've got an irrational fear of driving a boat. I don't know why. I hate driving a boat. I hate it. I always feel like I'm going to run over somebody. So if I go on a boat, somebody else is driving. But what that means is sometimes I don't get to go on a boat because I'm the only one there. If I was on a deserted island and there was a boat there, I'd be like, ooh, somebody's going to have to come or I'm paddling. So, I understand it. People have little quirks and little things that bother them, but nobody wants to hear, well, if this little thing's bothering you, maybe you just don't get to do that thing. And everybody's like, well, that's not fair. Everybody else can do it. Well, that's okay. Life's not fair.
If y'all ever stop really in the last, really since COVID, I think COVID will go down in history of giving us an eye-opening to how silly and weird some people are and some of the stuff that goes on. And I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, because again, this society's soft and that's what we're talking about, and somebody get their feelings hurt. I mean, some of the stuff that gets Bacteria Boy, dude. I mean, like that, what you just said. What in the heck are we doing? And then 400,000 people will sit down and watch that silly crap, and that'll give him money. And he's right. I mean, it's like we've built a society of just taking in content, and some of it's valid, but some of it's like, how does that attract 400,000 people? It's mind blowing to me.
Because it's just like this, Brett. See, his video was shown on Bill Maher's show. So everybody will go, I can't believe, there's no way this is real. So they'll search it and then they'll watch it. So that's more views and more clicks. And the more absurdity you have, the more people will watch it.
It's like that kid singing that Fauci song about the vaccines with the mask on. I can't stop watching that every time it pops up, because I'm like, is this real? I mean, is this really happening? And he's got a mask on and he's singing. It's just terrible. I mean, it grates my skin crawls every time I hear it. But yeah,
but Brett, it's also, this is prevalent in the news. Like, I just drove to Iowa and back, right? So I spent a lot of time on Sirius XM and I listened to a lot of sports talk, but that gets kind of repetitive.
I'm glad you don't have a fear of driving a car.
No, I don't have a fear of driving a car. But so I was like, I'm going to listen to some news stations. And I flipped between Fox News, MSNBC, and a station called Urban View, which is, obviously a little more urban view. And a lot of them talked about, number one, the guy that's been deported, either justifiably or accidentally, depending on which way you want to go here, or it's a combination of both. And I listened to their talk about the kid in Texas who was stabbed by the other kid, sort of white, a murder, or was it self-defense? And the way that it was portrayed by basically the two different sides of this were so unbelievable that it's almost like they would not have you believe for a second, like, okay, wait a minute. Yes, maybe he shouldn't have, maybe the deportation was accidental, But should our senators be going down there to make sure he returns? But when there's plenty of stuff going on in his own state, when he might not have been the best person, is there a place in the middle here that we go, okay, both sides screwed this up badly? No, they won't hear that. They're like, no, he should be out of here. Oh no, bring him back at all costs. And then on the kid being stabbed, they're like, well, of course it was self-defense. And even if it wasn't self-defense, he was probably did something else. Or of course it was murder. And I'm sure that kid was just standing there reading the Bible, and the next thing you know, he's stabbed in the neck. No, there's something in the middle. But the problem is nobody wants to hear the middle, because in their eyes, the middle is kind of boring.
Guess what?
Want it to fit their narrative.
They don't want to hear the middle because we're the middle. We're paying all the taxes. They say, y'all just keep paying the taxes and we'll keep making up stories and do. But that's it. Before we go to break, we literally make everything that should be cut and dried. We turn it into, well, what about this? And we create these situations and scenarios, just like the men playing in women's sports. I'm sorry. If you get offended by us talking about that, I'll never agree with that ever. Okay. So if you're watching or listening and you don't agree with me, I'm sorry. I don't agree with that. I don't even know how we got to that point. That we even try to consider that that's normal. I don't understand it.
Here's the middle for that for me, Brett. I'm like, okay, you finally convinced me that there are some people out there that believe, like in their heart of hearts, that they should be the other gender. Like there was a mistake somewhere along the line and they should be the other gender. You've convinced me of that. Fine. But that being said, I don't think you'll ever convince me that a boy should be playing against my daughter. When I know, look, Brett, if we took one of the best high school basketball men's teams and played WNBA team, I'd put my money on the high school team, wouldn't you?
Oh, there's zero doubt.
Okay.
Zero doubt.
How in the world can anybody justify this?
They can't.
And really, it's unfair to all the athletes. If we need to create our own, ambiguous gender division, okay, then they can have that, and there's nothing wrong with it. We have, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we have different things. We have a Special Olympics. You know why? Because it's unfair for kids with some kind of who are differently abled. I want to be sure I'm saying all this right.
So you can't
they shouldn't be running against the Carl Lewises of the world. That shouldn't happen. We can have different divisions, different things. We have Division I basketball, we have Division II and Division III. If you're a Division III player, you probably aren't good enough to play Division I. There's nothing wrong with it. It's still a pretty good accomplishment.
All three of us loved basketball, loved playing it. Didn't mean we were allowed to go to the NBA. Didn't even make us good enough to play in college. So, all right, let's get to break.
Wait a minute. Before you go to break, Brett, I got to say this. Trey Day Graham said, hey, Brett and Randy, y'all got the freak. Let us get the Hulk in T-Town. And when I read it first, I was like, is he calling me a freak? He said, y'all got the freak. I was like,
well, they already knew you were a freak. I already knew you were a freak. So you already got a freak in T-Town. No, he's referring to Malcolm.
So Darian Morgan, I know. So, but I had to keep reading it first. I was feeling a little Gen Z feelings hurt here.
So you're getting your feelings hurt. All right, we're way past break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
I think Coach Shepard's after him, isn't he, Luke?
As
hard as he can get after him.
Yeah, he wants him badly.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Hey,
I don't get why you wouldn't.
Hey, Brett, it's the ideal time to have the golden ticket. You know it.
Yeah,
it is, man.
You're 18 years old and you've got that skill set. Oh man, cash in. Pick the right one though. I hope he picks the one that he's going to stick with long term.
I can't believe that. I can't believe Ja'Kai Howard went to Utah. That just,
who's the coach there?
Yeah,
is there a connection?
I don't know. There could be.
Can't believe what now?
Ja'Kai Howard went to Utah.
Who's the coach at Utah?
It's a brand new coach, so there may be somebody there. It may be a connection there.
It's got to be a AAU connection or something.
Has to be at some point.
I mean, I guess Utah's not. We forget Utah went to like.
Well, no, they're
not 2 straight Final Fours or something under Keith Van Horn.
That's been a while back, Luke.
That was a while back.
I mean, but seriously, on the
Rick
gender,
Majerus, who was like a walking
Okay.
aorta block.
he looked like an aorta.
Just an amalgam of fatty acids and cholesterol.
He was an aorta.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
He looked
Billy
like-
Crystal.
he looked
All right,
like-
Billy Crystal in.
He looked like
looking
a
at
wild robot. You know, he had like a real round head and a real round body. And
Now where is CBM going? Is he going to Kentucky?
I mean,
Oh, God.
Did I see that, Luke?
I
That's just-
think
I
there
think
were some
that's-
people that like painted that picture. I don't think he's. I don't think so.
Rick Majerus.
Is there any feel for where he's going, Luke?
I have not seen any. I mean, again, I wonder if he was like if he overplayed his hand.
Oh, I
You know,
think he
kinda-
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Depends on
did.
what-
He did. Nico did. And I think all these kids are overplaying their hand. I mean, the deal was already done. I talked to some people 2 days ago. I told y'all that. And the deal was done pre-Final Four. And then you come back and you change your mind. I mean, this is what
That's what
I
happened with Mo D. I mean,
this is what I'm having. Yeah, it's the same situation. This is where you go, all right, dude. At some point in time, the word's the word, right? And we both agreed, and now you come back and say it ain't good enough anymore. Well, it's about time for society to start teaching some lessons. Okay, throw this away. I think Latrell Sprewell did it in the NBA. I think he wanted some extraordinary contract, and the Knicks finally said, "No, I'm just not going to pay you anything." And then he didn't get picked up by anybody. Now he's bankrupt and broke and everything else. I mean, a bird in the hand sometimes, and you take that and you can always keep trying to get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more.
Well, you know, the thing about those two, Luke
7
loved
seconds.
Mo D. So, I mean, you leave that on the table
Well,
too. I mean, he would have been a long term.
Welcome
What
back,
does he
everyone.
get? He's probably
Welcome
like,
back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill, Sunshine Heating and Air. Y'all keep it going.
Well, the point I was making about Mo D and CBM deciding to hit the transfer portal, if you're just tuning back in on television, is, I mean, you leave a fan base that loves you. You know, Luke, that's sitting to my left, was probably the biggest Alabama supporter of Mo D on the media outlets that you could ever find. I mean, and there were others. And Brett, you and I had embraced CBM and what he brought to the table. And we're emotional people, so we can kind of get a feel of somebody that's out there, you know, playing with emotions. And sometimes he takes it over the edge, but it's what fed that team to have somebody out there on the court that could do that. And but all of that's gone when you move on too. And I don't know what kind of value, I'll kick it to you, Luke, but I mean, there is a massive value to, you know, I look over there on the bench for Auburn right now. And I know Marquise Daniels had a great NBA career, but he's on the bench over there. Bryant Smith on the bench over there at Auburn. I mean, if you stick somewhere, you've also got that to fall back on. If you need a fan base to embrace you. And when you leave, there is no, I mean, when you've been to as many places as CBM's been to, I mean,
Who's claiming you? Who's claiming you?
Nobody. No, you've given nobody a chance to claim you.
No, I'm with you.
yeah, it is. It is like, and look, I guess this may illustrate the point CBM is kind of making it, even though he's not making it verbally, that now that he's in the transfer portal, everybody's like, you know what? I was sick of his antics anyway. And I didn't see a whole lot of Auburn fans like, I'm sick of his antics. I saw the rest of the basketball world saying that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Auburn people were embracing him, which makes it even more weird that he would leave in the first place, though.
Agree.
You know, like maybe he's right if in saying, see, y'all really didn't love me for me. You loved me because we were winning, and you would put up with my stuff as long as we were winning. But if Auburn had been losing, I'd be willing to bet that most Auburn fans, and again, this is not unique to Auburn people, this would be to everybody, that I bet Auburn people be like, you know what, we need to get this weirdo off the team. He keeps elbowing people in the head, like on purpose. And so we got to the thing about CBM that makes this whole thing weird to me is like, I know there are guys out there who aren't super coordinated and they're so big. Like I feel this way when I go into one of the Atlanta airport tram system. Like if it gets really crowded, I'm in there like this, and I feel like every time I turn around, I'm elbowing some little, foreign visitor in the face. And sometimes I do, and it's not really my fault. I'm bigger than they are. They come up to my elbows, and I'm like this, and I turn around. I'm like, well, I just knocked that unfortunate Vietnamese visitor down. But CBM isn't that way. CBM, I mean, you could see it clearly once everything was slowed down. Like, oh, he's trying to elbow people in the face. This isn't like an accidental, like your arms are flailing. No, he's trying to knock people's necks off. So that's what's weird about it even more is that most Auburn people were willing to forgive it.
Heck, let me add something there to that. We embraced it. When we went on that little losing streak, lost y'all at home, Sears hits the runner through the lane. Brett and I came back on air on Monday and we're like, dude, you got to quit acting nice. I mean, we need that edge. The team needs that edge. You bring the edge. And if it means you getting thrown out of a game later, I'm good with it. Brett, you remember you and I really went down that route, and I think a lot of Auburn fans felt like they needed it from him.
Started pouting. I guess got scolded by Coach Pearl, and then he went into a slump because he refused to be aggressive. And and we all talked about that for a long time. You are who you are. We all played pickup ball and stuff with certain people, and and you can't change your personality, who you are when you're a competitor. And I'm not giving him a pass for doing stuff that's bad. I mean, I think all of our teams have somebody, but then it became a reputation thing with him. And so people started looking for it. So when it happened again, it was magnified. But when he went in a shell, he might as well not even been on the floor. I mean, he wasn't contributing anything. And so we lost that. And that was what contributed to us going on a losing streak, is because he wasn't playing with an edge. And, sometimes you tell somebody to do something and you take that away from them, they're just not the same person anymore. So let's go to break again on TV. We'll come back. We got a lot more. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
Since it's not on TV, I'll say this, talking about you are what you are. But when I was working at Robinson Iron in the summers, I think I was 16 maybe, and they used to play basketball over at the Sportplex basketball gym at lunch. Right. So I'd go over there and play, and Mayor Bailey was playing. Oh, yeah. With his son, who was,
Jeff.
That guy, that's not my kind of guy. But no, he was a big dude. Well,
Brett and I played a lot of ball with Jeff.
Well, so we're out there playing. And I didn't really know, I knew them, but I didn't know them. Well, I had hit like 3 shots in a row. The next shot I took, Mayor Bailey's son knocked me into there were all these folding chairs. I was in the folding chairs, all folded up, had chairs folded all over me. And I was like, what in the world? And somebody said, well, you'd hit the last 3 shots. He had to stop you. I said, I'm not playing. This ain't the Bad Boys. That ain't Bill Lambert. I got to go back to work. I can't go with the folding chair stuck up my rear end. And, well, what was even funnier was, I'm talking about Moose. Scott Blake's right. I'm talking about Moose.
Oh, okay.
I'm not talking about Jeff.
I'm not talking about okay. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't know what his name was, but now that he said Moose, I was like, oh, yeah, that's his name. I don't know if that was his name. It should have been. But, and then I'll never forget, after it was over, I had never seen this before. Like, our mayor took off he played in sweatpants. It's the dead of summer. Played in sweatpants and a long shirt. And he didn't go in the locker room. We're out on the gym. He's like at mid-court. Takes off his sweatpants, no underwear. Puts his dress stuff, mayor stuff back on and goes to work. And I said, I've walked into a different place from where I play pickup in Indian Springs. I'm at a different spot. I'll never forget that. That is emblazoned on the back of my eyes.
Yeah.
After you took the folding chair out of
I said, I know this man ain't about to change everything right here at half court. I took the folding chair right out of my butt and sat on it and said, I know he's not about to. He pulled them sweatpants down. There wasn't anything between him and me anymore.
Did you go back and tell Ricky?
No, I was scared to go tell anybody. Hell, he's our mayor. I didn't know what kind of sanctions to be put on. I thought we might get a
I would have loved to have been a darn.
All right, we got 10 seconds.
Oh man,
No more mayor stories.
I can't wait till I see Jeff next time. Tell him that story.
Oh, yeah. I'll probably see him tomorrow.
Oh man.
All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. That was an action-packed stream break there for TV. But anyway, keep your comments rolling in. We appreciate it. A lot that we're talking about this morning. I just think the whole hour has been kind of encapsulated in where we are in sports in general. And, we all have been talking about the way it's affected college sports, but now, we started talking about the kid, the Pritchett kid at Thompson being coerced to try to be led away from Thompson with a $750,000 offer. And it's just where we are now. And again, we're trying to figure out where the money's coming from and the end game on where that will be for some of these kids. But, we're also talking about the loyalty thing and why CBM and Mo at Alabama and all that would just kind of wad up with. It's like they don't care about the environment they're in and the loyalty part of it. It's like if it's another dollar, I'm taking it. And I saw a press guy tweet out yesterday about CBM. He goes, so you would throw all this away that you built here the last couple of years to go your last year and try to just take a stab somewhere else. And try and lose your identity and lose everything that you built, and like y'all both said, built a following and a love from a fan base. And I don't think it matters to anybody anymore. I know.
Weren't his parents like pretty famously just at the Final Four hugging everybody and all armed up? And I mean, it's just, it takes one more dollar. If Auburn's offering 750 and somebody offers 750 and one,
right. I
mean, and that goes across the country. Again, it's not unique to CBM. We're only talking about him because he's the latest and greatest of this area that we talk about. I mean,
that's how shallow we are in society now.
Well, but let me take the opposite side though, Brett, for both programs, Auburn and Alabama. There are other fan bases that are out there that are saying the exact same things that we're saying today, based off of their players, their main players coming to Auburn and coming to Alabama. I mean, neither of our programs would have had the runs we've had the last couple of years if it wasn't for the transfer portal. I mean, I'll start with Auburn, then I'll let you kick to Alabama. I mean, if Mark Sears and Grant Nelson aren't on Alabama, I mean, forget it. That you don't have anywhere near this run. And from Auburn's standpoint, my gosh, we've got Janai, we've got Denver Jones. Denver Jones on a great college team, Brett.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the transfer portal, though, Randy. I'm talking about breaking a deal that was already done. I'm talking about you've already agreed to something to come back, and then you decide to say, no, that's not – it's the Nico thing. I have no problem getting in I have no problem with the transfer portal.
Well, there's no stipulations in any contracts that say you can't go break it, and you've got handlers out there.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not giving him a pass. I'm saying that let's don't be complete and total hypocrites here.
No, I think Randy's right.
Alabama fans.
That it's we can hate it, and we all do, and it ain't right, but there's nothing that's like in the rules against it. It's just it doesn't.
There are no rules.
I mean, it's sort of like if you see an older woman having trouble getting to her car at the Piggly Wiggly, and you are an able-bodied male and you just rush by her and don't help her get her stuff in the car, there's nothing that says you have to do that. It's just, it ain't a great look. And the other side of this, and going back to Nico, okay, what's funny to me, the Tennessee fans were killing him, which I thought they should have, because it is dumb. And it was, that was out of bounds to me. And it was just a terrible look. But then guess what Tennessee fans, soon as they were like, well, who can we go get? It's not like they're against what happened. They're against what happened to them. They're like, it can happen to other people, just not us.
Well, it probably will happen to us. My whole point, I see what both of y'all are saying. I'm talking about the fortitude within yourself. That at some point in time, you got to say, all right, there's something about a word. You have your word. And I don't know what was inked and what was signed or whatever, but if you've agreed and, then the school's got a budget, everybody's got a budget. We got a budget at home, right? Y'all do. I do. Well, there's not an unlimited amount. You may have a good collective. There's not an unlimited amount. So you're like, yeah, do you want me to come back and play for you? And obviously the answer was yes. And so they go, okay, well, here's what can we make happen? Let's give you more than you made last year. You're coming back for your final year. Okay, yeah, we're all good on that. And that supposedly had been done for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden now we go, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'm worth more than that. So I'm going to go shop myself around. And so, yeah, you have the right to do that. You absolutely do.
Is what if Nico, and here's the other, that's funny.
And Nico didn't get as good a deal. He lost.
He wasn't as good as he was supposed to be. If you ask me, if he had walked into my office and said, all right, Coach Luke, we're making about 2.2 or whatever it was, 2.1 a year. I just don't feel like that's enough. I'd be like, it ain't enough, but it ain't enough on the you giving me results side. Like, yeah, we made it to the playoffs by the skin of our teeth. Probably shouldn't have. We won a few games we were fortunate enough to win. You went to Arkansas and got beat. You overthrew everybody in Ohio at the Horseshoe. You threw one out of the stadium. I've been there. That's hard to do. I mean, I would have said, you dang right, 2.1 ain't the right number. We need to be more like in the $800,000 range because you're playing like the 9th best quarterback in the SEC.
Well, that's kind of also my point, too, is that it ain't even about results. This guy threw 9 touchdowns in SEC play, and 4 of them were against Vanderbilt. And he's got the gall to come back and ask for more?
And it's not like the coach can go up to him and say, we're either giving you a humongous pay cut or – we need to cut bait. There's no way Heupel was going to do that because he doesn't have that kind of leverage. And that's why I've always, one of the other reasons, I perpetrated these other sports too, but I used to hate baseball so much. They still have Bobby Bonilla Day with the Mets, where on July, whatever it is, they send him $1 million because that was in his contract. He just gets $1 million till like 2030 something. And I'm like, it's the biggest joke. And look, I'm not against Bobby Bonilla making all he can make. At the same time, if I was a Mets fan, I'd be like, I would have appreciated a little bit more effort for what we're doing. I mean, there's something that's wrong with that. It's not like the Mets can come back and say, you really weren't worth that. Everybody always talks about, well, he's not getting paid what he's worth, but they never look at it from the other side when somebody gets paid what they're worth. I mean, Sean Alexander went through this a little bit, and I love Sean Alexander, but when he got his big payday, his production dipped a pretty good bit. And it's not coincidental, in my opinion. Now, it doesn't mean he's not a hard worker. It means he just affects people different ways. And, there's some people that have to, work all their life and they get to a certain point and then they're like, okay, I made my big payday. I can sort of ease up the throttle. Well, they forget what got them there. And, we as fans, we don't forgive that quite as much.
No, we don't. I mean, but so that's kind of my point there. I mean, I'm not arguing about the transfer portal. I have no problem with the transfer portal. I have a problem with the guy coming back 3 weeks later after he made an agreement saying, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want some more. Because that's never ending, right? That can happen with any of our employees. It can happen with anybody. Oh, hey, I've got this good employee. And then 3 weeks later, they come back and they want more money. And you go, okay, I got to have that person. So I got to keep them. So you give them more money. And then a month later, they come back and say, hey, I'm just outperforming everybody again. I need some more. At some point in time, you just got to go, hey, you know what, man? I'm tired of this. Just if you think you're worth that, go ahead. But there's something to be said about keeping your word. And I don't think we're teaching that very much.
Well,
anymore.
The current structure with the NCAA doesn't give these schools and administrators the chance to make it right a lot of times. They don't. They have the leverage is on the athlete side. Now,
and the other thing, Randy, here's the other catch. While we're sitting here doing all this complaining about it, and we should be because we're right, but you two as Auburn fans, remember after Auburn went to the Final Four, then the next year, which was sort of a crazy year, but Bruce Pearl's year wasn't that great. I mean, I think that was all the Sharif Cooper stuff, and it just wasn't that great of a year. Guess what some Auburn people were saying? Maybe Bruce Pearl's Final Four was a flash in the pan. Maybe he's not this. Because as soon as you start losing, we turn on you. And so, coach, you're like, why would a coach put up with this? Because the coaches know if I don't get the player, then I'm not going to win the games. And if I don't win the games, they're going to fire me, and they don't want to hear what kind of moral high ground I stood on. They want to know, did you make the NCAA tournament and make the Sweet 16? If you didn't, then you're out. And if you did, we will complain about your players with you. But by God, you better have them, because if you're not winning, we're going to throw you out on your tuchus.
And 2 points before we go to the next break. The NCAA, which we all have despised for so long, recently has tried to make things right. They've tried to go to court and stop a lot of this and put some rules in place, and it gets shot down every time. And then on the other side, what you're talking about, Luke, with the players, Josh Heupel, I think Urban Meyer said, and I hate that he even had to come out and say this, but he said, what's going to happen midway through the season? Tennessee fans, are they going to be going, well, we're just so proud of Josh Heupel, he took a stand. When they have a no-name quarterback out there and they're losing every game, it put them in a bad situation. But the reality of it is all of that will be worn off by then, and everybody will be back to why aren't we winning football games? But they'll forget why they're in the situation, that a player abandoned the program and put them in that situation. So, all right, up against another break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this.
I'll be right back.
I'm just tired of the hypocrisy, man. I mean, and we talk about this till we're blue in the face, and it seems like it's all we talk about every single week we get on here. But it's the story, and it's what's driving the sport. And it continues to be the headliner.
It's just
hell, Baylor don't even have a team.
Alabama and Auburn next year. Now, again, I know we're not necessarily against the transfer portal. At the same time, there's a chance neither one of us really has anybody left from the. Now, Alabama will have, Aiden Holloway. I know is coming back. I know that Latrell Wright's was, but he didn't play most of the year. Auburn, if Pettiford stays in the draft and CBM's gone, I don't think they got anybody left from that team.
I think they're all gone.
That's bananas.
It's complete. And what about Baylor? Baylor's whole team's gone.
Baylor's entire team already gone.
Yeah.
Glenn Toller says, well, the next move is during the season. I mean, shoot, I think that's already – I mean, didn't Nico already – isn't that the story is that he already said before the playoffs? Like, there were people talking about before the SEC title game that Georgia players were like, I'm going to need more money to even, get in this.
Well, and Gary Harrison, I talked about it on his show yesterday, and I'll wait till TV comes back to say this, but all that's coming. Somebody's going to hold out of a game during the middle of the season because they didn't get an NIL deal straight.
It's Goldie Hawn's Wildcats. Remember that?
Absolutely.
The big guy went over and said, hey, I'll, $40, I'll play whatever you want me to play. And if you don't pay me, I'm not going to play at all.
Right. That's what's coming. I'll just say this. I'm glad, and I don't know the kid. You don't. I don't have a dog in the fight. But I'm glad for college sports that he took a leap of faith, and it kind of burned him a little bit. And he found out his market value isn't quite what he thought it was, an inflated mindset of what his camp thought he was to lead him to do that. And so now he has to take a lesser deal. And now everybody's pulling against him because he pulled this stunt. Everybody's out there going to go, well, I hope he falls on his face and shows everybody you can't do this, because everybody's pulling for the sport. They're pulling for the sport to kind of come back around full circle. So all of these kids can't hold. And the same goes for coaches too, but coaches sign contracts and there's legal binding things to those contracts.
What I worry about is like, Dr. Melfi figured out at the end of the Sopranos that Tony Soprano was only going to therapy, even if he didn't know this, it was like a subconscious thing, that he was only going to figure out how to be a better criminal. Right. He really wasn't going to try and improve himself. And I wonder if players, instead of using this as an epiphany, like, hey, this could happen to any of us, they look at it as like, how can we get around this?
Right. Here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Final segment here in hour number one. Luke, I wanted to bring up this part of it. I was on Gary Harris's show in Tuscaloosa yesterday, as I am every Friday. And, Gary said it. He said, look, this is just the start of some things, other things we're going to see. We're going to see some – he said, I firmly believe that we'll see somebody hold out during the regular season because maybe something didn't get done correctly. And isn't that what we saw with the Utah quarterback or the UNLV quarterback this past year going into the
Something
season?
like that.
I mean,
well, he said that UNLV reneged on their deal to him. Now,
okay, so but this is the whole point I'm talking about.
yeah,
You know, now what if you're into the season and a player comes back and says, "Hey, I'm not playing. My camp is telling me to sit this one out till we get all this other stuff straight." And you practiced all week, and you're the quarterback, and you're playing a rival team. It's a big game, and you go, "I'm sorry, I got to look out for my best interest," and you just sit it out. And so I think Gary was onto something yesterday when we were talking about that on his show. I think that'll be the next thing that we see happen.
maybe so, and that's frightening.
All right, Justin said, are y'all surprised that more Auburn and Alabama football players haven't entered the portal? He said, I know Auburn has had about 4. Joyner really the only loss. And, you know, I think, Justin, Terrence Love was a good piece in the secondary. I thought J.C. Hart was a good piece. And I thought that if Auburn had not recruited the way they had this past class, they would still be there and as a need piece. But as you upgrade your roster and stuff, that's what the portal's there for kids and people to have an opportunity to move on and maybe give themselves another shot. Braden Joyner ends up at Purdue. So he commits to Purdue yesterday. So, yeah, and he played a good bit last year, again, because of need. And you go out and you get maybe some better talented guys to come in and fill up your roster. So, Randy, that's kind of my take on that for Auburn.
No, I agree. All makes sense that left from Auburn's standpoint. Braden Joyner being the one that you're talking about, I don't think he was going to end up on the field as much as he wanted. Wants a chance to go somewhere where he's highly needed and probably going to be a starter. And I said it yesterday, he is a center size-wise. He can play offensive guard in the college game, but he's undersized to go to the guard, and he's definitely not a tackle. He's what we see in the high school ranks so often. Plenty of size. You know, he's 325, maybe 315, whatever that number is, but I've been around him a lot. He's about 6'1". If he lists him any taller than 6'1", I don't believe it. I've just seen him enough to know. So if he's going to make the pro game, and anybody that's like that thinks they can, it's going to be at the center position. And he's not going to beat Connor Lew out. That's over. That's not happening at Auburn. So that one made a lot of sense to me. And the ones back in the secondary, they weren't going to get as much time as they wanted either. So that's makes good sense that they move on. How about Alabama? Anybody that you're surprised leaves from Alabama, Luke?
No, I mean, nobody that of any consequence that I know of has gotten in the spring portal. And I think things may have settled down a bit. You know, and I think that's what everybody was worried about was a quarterback getting in, because you essentially have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And I think that most people, well, the talk is, okay, they all have an equal opportunity. I mean, Ty Simpson's going to be the starter, which I'm totally okay with. I think Keelan Russell's got a lot of opportunity, a lot of great football ahead of him. And Austin Mack is, one of those ones that's really intriguing. 6'8" quarterback. I mean, they're always going to be intriguing. But I think the coaching staff did a good job of maneuvering this. The offensive coordinator came out the other day and said, hey, if we play tomorrow, it's Ty Simpson's job. I think that was worded perfectly, because it's not saying, hey, it's a definitive he is going to win the job in the fall, but it is giving enough of a definition to Ty Simpson where he's like, okay, this is my gig as long as I don't drop the ball. And it also gave the other 2 guys enough motivation and enough assurance that, hey, if you perform well in the fall, you can take this job over. So I think he said that pretty well. But I don't, I'm a little surprised maybe some other wide receiver didn't get in, because Alabama's receivers room is pretty crowded right now. But my guess is that the coaching staff has done a good job saying we're going to use all you guys as much as we can. And I mean, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, and Isaiah Horton, 1, 2, 3. But then there are a bunch of guys sort of grouped up, maybe 4 or 5 guys that are all pretty doggone good and have a lot of talent and a lot of potential. but it's a hair surprising that maybe one of them didn't at least test the waters, because you would think there's some team out there that may need another receiver. But I'm glad they didn't, because I want to see what one of them can do, whether it's Rico Scott or Jalen Hale or one of these other cats.
I think you look at, both teams having, in position groups having great relationships with their coaches. And, even if you're down the depth chart a little bit, you love where you are and you love your situation, which is good, because I think there was some potential, I guess, some speculation on some guys maybe in the receiver room for Auburn maybe getting in the portal, and it didn't happen. And so it's good to see that. And Auburn brought in a couple of guys in the first portal window, and Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields, and everybody stayed. I think everybody was maybe a little concerned about Perry Thompson and Bryce Kane. They stayed. They love it down there. I was at practice, and I mean, you could tell they wanted to be there. And Perry Thompson has improved. I thought he had a great spring, and that's what you got to do sometimes. You got to work your way up. I thought Robert Woodyard is a prime example of a guy that 2 years ago could have gotten the portal. Big, strong, fast kid. Was highly touted coming out of high school, and now he's a junior, and he's probably going to be the starter at Mike linebacker. And I love those kind of stories, because that's what we've always been used to. But he could have easily gone in the portal, I think, and tested the waters, but decided to stay. So, all right, we're going to up against the top of the hour here. We've got a whole nother hour coming your way, so stay tuned. More to come right after this.
Perry Thompson is the one to me that was like, it may be even smarter for him to come back, because one of two things happens. He either gets to play a lot, and then he has all the leverage, like, okay, I know we got Cam Coleman and so here, but you're going to pay me now. Or he doesn't get the opportunity, and when he leaves, everybody's sort of on his side, like, we get it. You're not getting the opportunity.
Right.
So I think it's smart. Like, that kind of player, I get it. Like, play it smart, come back, and see what happens, and you'll get a payday one way or the other.
Well, that's why I told Randy months ago, and I think both of y'all agree, I think the best thing in the world for everybody involved, the schools and the kids, sign a 2-year contract. When you come out of high school, you buy in, it gives you some level of comfort, is that, okay, if he doesn't play immediately, he ain't going to fly the coop, and we got somebody that we can build with. And if he doesn't work his way in by the end of year number 2, then maybe he does need to move on somewhere, and he's got the opportunity to get out of that contract. But right now it's just, some are emotional and they should be playing right now in their mind, and they're not, so they leave, which may not be the best thing for them.
We've already had people, that Eagle staff kid that went for 40-something on Bama from North Dakota, committed to South Carolina. He's and in the transfer portal, he's already decommitted from the transfer portal.
Well, isn't that what the Oregon quarterback did?
Which one?
He went to the Dagum. He had committed and went to the Rose Bowl with them, and was at the Rose Bowl, and then they lost, and he said, "I ain't going over there."
Yeah,
so he wasn't even there yet and left.
It's
how do you leave a place you never showed up to?
How do you transfer from a place you weren't at to begin with? I mean, that's like me saying, I just left the kitchen. Well, Luke, you've been sitting here the whole time. And that's your opinion.
Well, don't worry. Somebody will argue with you out there.
Yeah.
Somebody will convince you, yeah, you know what? Maybe I did. I left the kitchen about 3 hours ago. So technically they're right.
Luke, what else you hot on before we lose you in, one more segment?
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other topics we need to hit on while we've got you?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'm down for whatever.
Life.
A lot of baseball.
You opened up. Asking him what he wants to talk about, not giving him a narrow window. Like,
you better give me
where that's going.
Did Alabama win last night?
No, they lost 4-3.
I didn't think you paid attention to baseball, Luke.
I do, like, it's all I got right now. Like, I kind of want to watch, because it's not bad if we're not bad. Like, I like where I am with baseball. If we're not good, I can just say I don't care about it. If we are good, I'm like, okay. Like football, y'all know, like, if we're bad, it's all over my face. There ain't nothing I can say I don't care. Well, then why are you over there crying?
Here we go.
I mean,
Well, welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air, discussing with Luke how much he loves the sport of baseball. Just can't wait to watch the Braves today, right?
I'll tell you what, the Braves sucking this year has increased my baseball lovability by 1,000%. And the Braves suck, and I don't know why.
They busted it wide open.
His daughter's on my daughter's soccer team. And I'm always like, go Bravos, and they lose every deadgum night. I guess they lost last night. They were down 4-1. Did they lose?
I'm sure they did. I don't even look at it anymore.
And I'm so happy about that because there is no fan base in my lifetime that I've ever been around, and I'm including college sports, high school, whatever. There is no more fly-by-night bandwagon fan base than the Atlanta Braves. I will go to my grave saying that because I've met everybody in Alabama used to tell me when they were on their run of winning, 14 straight.
To your disappointment, they came back and beat the Twins last night.
God almighty, I can't believe it.
I just looked it up. They won 6-4.
Well, I'll tell you, when they were winning all those division titles, that you couldn't find somebody that didn't say, I was with them through the Bob Horner days. Oh, really? Because I saw the stands. There were 7 people in there, and 5 of them were Bob Horner's ex-wives or children. So you can't tell me you were with them back then because I know what I saw with my eyes. So I'm not buying it. And so everybody loves the Braves until they start stinking. Then they're like, all right, what else is on? And they treat baseball like I do. Just admit you treat it like I do. It's hard to watch. It ain't that much fun, but if it's on, you will watch it. Because there's not much else. It's either that or an old Law and Order. Those are the only 2 things I got.
I kind of agree with him. Look, baseball is a sport I love playing, and I have a real hard time sitting there watching. I do. Now, Brett, you can watch it more than the rest of us, can't you?
I can.
I can't.
Let me ask you this, Randy. What other sport, if somebody did this in basketball or football, what other sport, you look over there and they go, ooh, they got their rally caps on, and there'll be somebody in the dugout with 19 baseball hats on, and that's his rally cap. If you looked over there at Auburn's sideline and Auburn was making a comeback against the Tennessee Volunteers, and you saw some fool over there with 6 helmets stacked on top of his head, you'd be, get that man off my sidelines. In baseball, he's just reveled. He's lauded with praise.
Now, if he put 6 helmets on, Luke, I'd probably be pretty impressed.
There's just so much.
Like Steve Wallace. Remember, he had that.
There's so much downtime in baseball. You've got to entertain. You've got to entertain yourself with something.
The pitch clock has helped.
They've tried to help.
Sure. Yes,
the pitch clock has helped.
I agree. Yes, that's cut down a lot of the Nomar Garciaparra odd. Batting gloves, just going to take me 15 seconds every time.
Scratch.
With the ball to do anything to get back in the box. So, yes, that's helped.
But Justin says I can see Bruce allowing something like that in basketball. I could too. It doesn't make it right.
Alabama lost last night 4-3. Did Auburn end up losing too?
Yes, 8-3.
So Auburn's 0-2 this weekend after sweeping.
But Texas this is the best start. I know it's the best start in 1,800 years for Texas. It may be the best start now ever. I mean, they're 32-5, and
it's ridiculous.
They just, and this was talking about a coach leaving somebody. He left Texas A&M to go to rival Texas. They ate him worse than anything. But Auburn's played pretty well. That's the crazy thing about it.
Conversely, softball is so much fun to watch. Now, they have some of their own little silly rally cap stuff too, but it's different. And it's like quick. And softball moves and it's 7 innings. And there's like constant action, it seems like. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I can't name somebody on Alabama softball team. But they were playing Florida yesterday and they played them on TV 2 nights ago. And I kind of watched both of them because it's fun. Like baseball, you sit there and you're like, if somebody doesn't pitch this ball, I'm just going to have to give up. I'm going to have to go to Netflix. And I don't like going to Netflix. It's a whole nother remote control. I don't want to deal with all that.
I mean, how many – I like the commercial now where everybody goes, do you know how many subscriptions you have?
Yeah.
And the guy says, I think I've got 3. And, of course, he pulls up an app that you got to subscribe to to tell you what you subscribe to. And he goes, no, you really got 15 subscriptions. You're paying $246 a month. And he's like, what the? I mean, we just hit, hey, click this and 30-day trial, and we forget that it was a 30-day trial, and all of a sudden it just starts charging you. But Justin said, poor Ike Irish, series of the year for him. We can't help him. Look, you're right, but I mean, again, Auburn's not playing bad baseball. They're just playing a juggernaut, and Texas just really separated themselves from everybody else in this conference. But softball, I'll say this. My son last year with the turf crew at Auburn, football, baseball, and softball, and he enjoyed working softball games more than did the baseball games. And he tell you, he goes, it's because of that, and he played baseball and he loves the sport, but he just, the action level is just so much more intense in a softball game. It's
There's
shorter.
a good energy.
There's good energy.
In baseball, they always show people in the stands, and most of them are eating something or texting or the kid's asleep. In softball, if you go get a popcorn, you come back, you miss 3 innings. You're like, how did I miss all that?
Oh, man.
Well, we're up against our next break, Luke. I know you got to step aside because you get to go.
I got a baseball game to get
You got a baseball game to go watch, but no, you got to go be part of the soccer community again, right?
Oh man, let me tell y'all, what's it? Y'all gonna do a bronze bust of Ronaldo for me? Like with that.
I got a guy that can do it.
I think we both know a guy who can do one with gold paper mache, and
I think he did it of himself. That's the craziest thing about it. He was doing it for somebody else, and I think he got in the middle of the project and said, hell, I'm about to make my own face.
Like, was it MC Escher? You know how I used to do those drawings with him holding a silver ball? That's what it looked like. But yeah, I got a soccer team that we're at the age, this second graders, and my girls came up to me, and I don't know anything about soccer. I don't know how we're any good. I do know how we're good because I got about 3 good players, and I got 3 substitutes, and most everybody else has 1 good player and 7 subs. And if you got 7 subs and most of them are picking their nose or picking something during the game, my team's going to drag you. And because I got some girls who see, we're in the Mountain Brook area, so
it's all about how you draft, man.
Oh, we don't draft. My teams just stay together. We don't.
There
draft.
you go.
But what's good is most of my girls say, well, my dad said he'd give me $5 or $10 per goal because those are Mountain Brook prices. I remember my dad was like, well, you either go into the game or you can stay home and get paddled. You can do one of the two. I didn't get any money for making a goal. But these girls are the game. Like, they're getting upset like, well, Sela made $20 this, and I only made $15. I'm like, we won 11-0. Would y'all shut up? This is pretty fun. I'm like, yeah, but I was going to go buy me something over to the store. That it's fun though.
NIL's infiltrated.
NIL's in my Boosa league. There's no doubt about it. I am NIL'd up. I'm going to sign them to a 1-day contract and see how it goes.
Well, Luke, we're going to step aside here. We're going to go ahead and take a break on TV side. Luke, good to see you again this morning. Have fun negotiating your NIL deals with your soccer players. Stay tuned. More Saturday Sports Countdown right after this. And he's gone that fast.
He's gone.
He's
Got to get to the game.
Got to go watch some baseball too. Yeah, Mario. Yeah, NIL deals already for Luke's soccer players, no doubt about it. I'll give some thoughts on Auburn spring portal needs. I talked about it yesterday on the podcast and the show, but really this roster is starting to look like it's in pretty good shape offensively. Now, defensively, it's in good shape too. Definitely would go out and get a couple guys on the defensive front and maybe a linebacker or two, but secondary's really looks really good. So that's when you start thinking about where you are as a roster as a whole, is how much of a need and how many need positions. And Auburn didn't have that many. So that means you're getting your roster kind of shored up, and you should be doing that in year 3.
Feels like they are. It does. Lines of scrimmage.
So much better.
Held a couple of guys out, and it still looked as good as it did this spring.
Right.
So, but you can never have enough of those pieces, and I think that those are. as long as you're not expecting to go out there and get a game changer.
Right. You're not going to do that in
No,
the second quarter.
that's more than likely not going to happen because somebody's going to need them so bad that they'll spend whatever money they need
Right.
to go and get a left tackle because they don't have one.
I mean, do you think we'd let Keldrick Falk get away in the second portal window?
No,
Absolutely not. I mean,
yeah.
But then again, that goes back to our argument. You know, he knows how important he is to Auburn. Could that kid go in there and say, I need more money? Yeah. I mean, at some point in time, man, you got to buy in somewhere and you got to say, no, I'm here. I'm getting taken care of. My deal's good. The grass ain't greener in another pasture over here. I need to stay the course and see the long-term picture. I know that's not everybody. I know everybody's different. And some are out there going, the hell with that. I'm going to get what I can get and saying that's fine, you know, but maybe you don't have long-term goals like some of these other guys. It's just like this high school kid. I want to believe in my heart. I don't know if I'm being naive again or not, that he said, great deal, but I plan on making way more than that one day. And I'm in a great program. I'm around people that care about me. He's going to have my best interest at heart. And I'm going to stay here and continue down the path I'm on. And then I'll let the rest take care of itself in due time. And I think that's what Trent Seaborn did too. I hope I'm right.
I think you're dead on. But they've always been valuable, but they may be more valuable now than ever to a program. And that's a great coach that builds a great culture that you can sell to everyone around your community. And look, you can like it or dislike it. It is what it is.
Mark Freeman's a good man. Look, I've been around him enough now, and I've spent a long time with him. We got 5 seconds. I'll keep this going because I want to say it for everybody to hear. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. And I don't think you'll mind me sharing this part of the conversation we had the other day. But Mark, I had a chance to talk to Mark Freeman for about 45 minutes. He brought a lot of his kids to Auburn's practice, and you know, they were there to also see Anquan Fagans and Jared Smith, and they really showed out in practice that day. I think they knew their high school teammates and coach was there, so it kind of gave them a little extra motivation. But you know, he said, "Look, man, my family's important to me, and my granddaughter." He said, I don't want my granddaughter to look up one day and go, well, my granddaddy did things this way. And, you know, he said, it's from an integrity standpoint. He said, I know we get people pointing fingers at us all the time, but he said, I'll welcome anybody to come up here and look at anything that we do here. He said, our motto is outwork them all. And, you know, if you get somebody that moves into your community, I mean, it is what it is. It's not like he's out there pulling people. They're actually trying to pull them away from him. And so the best testimony for him as a person and his coaching staff is these guys have been thrown bukus of money and they've decided to stay at this program. Now, the naysayers out there are going to say, well, you know what that means. They're just giving them more. No, they're not. They're not doing that. They're not even close to that. I think it's saying that he really is a man of what he says he is. And these kids want to stay in this program because they know they're getting taught the right things. And if they stay the course, the end result's going to be way better than what they would get in the media.
Well, I think that everywhere he's been, it's been that way. And all the coaches that have left under his tutelage to go somewhere else says the same things about him too, Brett. And I'll never forget the first time you interviewed him, which is over 2 decades ago. You came back and said, I don't know what anybody wants to say bad about him, but I like that guy. That was the exact words that came out of your mouth. I like that guy. And I would guess that you interview more high school coaches in this state than anybody else. And when you come back, and not always Brett says, I like that guy. Look, Brett's got an opinion. He won't give it on air, but when we're talking about high school, but he'll give it to me. And it definitely hasn't always been that I like that guy and I like the direction of that program. But every time you've talked about him, it has been that. And parents can feel that, Brett. And look, we all love our kids. We want to put our kids in the best situation for success. And you can say stomach a lot of ineptitude, but after a while, you're a smart guy. You're not going to stomach ineptitude. You're not going to stomach excuses on why you can't do things to a certain standard. But when you get coaches in your community and you get programs in your community that hold themselves to a certain standard, then other people want to be a part of that. And you better go find somebody that other people want to be a part of. And it's fun to watch when it does happen. I'm sure it's been a lot of fun for Alabaster, Brett, because they were the whipping boy of that region for far too long. And then they go get the right guy to put in charge, and the community backs them, and they build that beautiful monstrosity of a school over there and spend their money and show their resources in the spot that was important to them. And the success has continued to grow over there. And so I'm cheering it on, man. I'm all about when you've got a great leader, people tend to find their way to you.
You know, I look at it from a standpoint, if anybody has the right to be cocky and standoffish, it's Mark Freeman. Has anybody done more than him as of late in his career? Anywhere he's been, he's won everywhere he's gone.
No,
I mean, you know, I'm not saying anybody has the right, but if anybody were given a pass to be cocky, it would be him, and he's the furthest thing from it. He's just very welcoming and wants to embrace and talk to you and really brag on his program and tell you everything about his kids. And he can't, you know, tell you enough of how he wants you to come up there and cover. Because I was telling him about, you know, the On the Road show, and he's like, "Yeah, I've seen the On the Road show, man." He said, "I think you guys do a great job with that." And he said, "You guys are welcome in Thompson anytime." And we ain't even been to Thompson yet. How about that? That tells you that how many programs in the state have really good stories and all. Are we going to make it to Thompson? Yeah, we'll make it to Thompson eventually. But he was like, "The door's open here. You guys can come, and we'd love to showcase what we do at Thompson." And so that, to me, is why he is and has come across the way he has to me, is because, yeah, he's won as much or more than anybody, and he's got the hardware to prove it, but he's just so open arms to everybody.
Goes a long way, man. It makes people like me and you that at times he's been a competitor of ours. Look, we've had another coach that I can't find two people that have said more glowing and nice things about Danny Horn than me and you. But he's broken Danny Horn and our two hearts one too many times down at Spanish Fort when he was there. So, but when you're able to even have someone break your heart and you still say positive things about him, it says more about them than it does about anything else. And he's definitely that. And we need more of him. And we need to take, I'll say this, I think leadership around the state should take opinions from our great leaders like that more than we do at times. At times we go out there and we put people in leadership roles, and I'm not talking about the HSA or anywhere else, but we put people in leadership roles that don't have the background that some of these guys that have already been in the fire for a long time have. And finding ways for them to, because this is a ever moving day and age in high school sports as we stick here, Brett. We just talked about the transient portion of society now and how much that's changing high school sports, and that's not going to change. I don't see that changing. I see it even getting more and more as we move on. So the NIL that we're dealing with right now, as you talked about Pritchett earlier in the show, getting offered $750,000 to go over to a high school, which is probably a public school somewhere, maybe in the state of Georgia. I'm just guessing. But when you see those opportunities getting thrown at the kids, what's the answer? I mean, do you want the outside bordering communities to have those opportunities and ours not? Go back to the lottery situation.
I was just about to say the same thing.
We have beaten it till we can't beat it anymore here in this state, that all the bordering states, and that doesn't make it right. Trust me, I'm of all weekends for us to get into a conversation on just because others are doing it doesn't mean that we have to. I get it. But I brought the economic impact into that lottery deal. And by the way, we just can't seem to get on the same page. We have reasons that the bills that we try to enact have all of these stipulations in them that don't make them right, and not all the other states. But they're at the end of the day, by us not having that lottery, a lot of our kids, including yours, Brett, how much money are you spending for your kid to go to college?
It's ridiculous.
Did Braden have good enough grades for him to get that college degree if he were in the state of Georgia or
100,
Florida?
100%.
So how much is
100%.
that? How much is his education costing you yearly that it wouldn't cost you
Right.
if you were living in the state of Georgia and he got the lottery scholarship in Georgia to go to school? How much a year is it costing you, do you think?
10 to 12
$10,000 to
thousand.
$12,000.
Yep.
If you
Because he
have,
does have some scholarships, so we're not having to pay for everything. But
if he didn't have those scholarships, would it be closer to 20?
100%,
So
100%.
let's say that your ex-family over in Georgia that's got smart kids, and I've used this example over the years. Per kid going to cost you somewhere between $80,000 and $100,000 over that 4-year cycle to get them through schools. You got 3 or 4 of them. That's $300,000 or $400,000 that it's going to cost your family that you wouldn't if you stayed in the state of Georgia or the state of Florida.
That's right.
I mean, we can't get that right. So I bring the NIL into that because no, do we like it? No, but the point is, it's not always what do I like and what do I not. What is best for our kids here in this state, and putting things into place that keeps our kids here in this state successful, I think, is the most important thing to do here. And I don't have the right answer for it, but I trust the reason I went down this rabbit hole is I trust the opinions of people like Mark Freeman more than I trust the opinions of those like me and you. I'm putting me and you in the mix.
Right.
I don't do this for a living. I talk about sports for a living, but I don't deal on a daily with high school football and kids and moving in and out of communities and NIL deals that are potentially out there in the high school ranks. I don't deal with this on a daily basis. So I trust the ones that do deal with it, that do it well, more than I trust mine in your opinion.
And, like on the lottery thing, before we go to our next break, I mean, you can be for or against it. That's not what we're talking about here. But we also don't need to complain as a state when, some of these other states are getting things and we're not. And the bottom line is, if people want to play the lottery, they're going to go find a way to play it. Yep. If we want to choose not to do it here and let the money go out of state, and I've said this a billion times, I don't run and go buy lottery tickets. I'm not a big gambler. You're not either. Okay. But those that want to do that, they're going to do it, and it's just like anything in this world. You want to find a way to get to it, you're going to find a way to do it. And so you can choose to continue to let that money leak out of the state and say, well, we're not going to do that here. Or you can figure out a way to keep more of that money in state where you can do some things like you're talking about that will benefit the kids. So if it's structured the right way, I know that's always been the big sticky wicket is like, oh, well, if we do that, we know.
Well, whose fault it's not? Whose fault is it that it's not structured the right way?
It's the people in Montgomery.
Okay. Well, I mean, then
because they control it, they're the ones that write the bill.
Yeah, I mean, it's not my fault that you can't structure it the right way. It's the people that I vote into office.
It's everybody wanting to throw stuff in a bill to go along with what the bill is supposed to be to try to sneak stuff through. And when it doesn't go through, then they just vote it down. And so it is.
We get what we get. Yeah. We get what we deserve far too often in the state of Alabama. I'll put it that way.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. All right. We're going to go ahead and take another break here on the show. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. I mean, the fact that you can't figure out a way to get this done in a amicable manner to benefit the taxpayers of the state. Again, if you want to do something, you're going to go figure out a way to go do it. And if your state doesn't provide it, then if the bordering states do, then you're just going to go do it there. I mean,
well, if you had another option to offset what is being done.
Well, yeah, if that's not your plan, give us plan B. I've said that 100 times.
What's plan B?
There's no plan B.
There never has been.
And, saying that you don't like one thing, but then not having any solution for the problem is probably the worst thing that you could do. I mean, I don't agree with that. Okay, well, then tell me what you want to do. Well, I don't know. Well, that option's better than the one you have because you have nothing.
That was new. Was that news 2 weeks ago?
What's that?
The lottery getting just pushed down the road.
And
Again.
I've lost so
You've
much
lost
interest in
interest
that.
in
I
it.
don't even when it seemed bright. It's not. I'm numb to that. I'm like, I don't even pay attention to that.
Well, that's what I was saying. Is
Yeah.
it wasn't even news. You and I didn't even talk about it.
I didn't know
We talked
about
about
it,
it
to be
for
honest
20
with
plus
you.
years.
Right. I didn't even know about it. I mean, it's kind of like Christmas around here. You know, it comes up every 25th day of December every year. You shouldn't be shocked by it. Well, the lottery conversation comes up every year, but we already know the results. And again, I'm not advocating gambling. I'm not up here. I don't buy lottery tickets. Maybe I should, because you can't win the lottery if you don't play the lottery. So, but you know, it's just what I choose not to do. And some people have fun with it. I'll buy one every once in a while, but there's some people that do it, and that's what they enjoy doing. And their money in the state of Alabama is going to Georgia or Mississippi or Florida or Tennessee or somewhere else. It's not staying here. I hate it. But it also puts, you know, with NCAA changing the scholarship rules and stuff, it's helped baseball and softball here with Auburn and Alabama. But it doesn't help these high schools that are getting enticed, you know, players getting enticed to come across state lines. We've already lost some, you know, we can go down the list of the examples of some of the kids. You brought one up earlier.
Well, we lost our best one last year.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you lost
probably the best high school basketball player we've had in this state over the last 20 years.
I agree with that.
He's a top 5 prospect in his class. He's a 5-star on every outlet.
Won 2 state championships for Buckhorn and then left. Already got 5 seconds. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. 30 minutes left on the show today. Let me just say, JR's, I know we've been with JR's forever, over 20 years. We did our first on location, the Auburn Blitz show. Faith and I will have an on location everywhere. I mean, all throughout, all the way down through football season, but we'll be somewhere every Friday or Thursday, depending on the business and what the promotion is. And we thought it was just perfect to start with JR's, Randy, because they've been so loyal to us and, you know, help us build our programming. And man, it was a great day because that place was slammed. And then I know we're used to it being slammed, but from 11:30 to 1:30, there was no tables available at lunchtime in Alex City. And so it was great to be there on location. We're looking forward to being in all these other places that we're going to be going to.
Well, it's not only Alex City, but you hear it in other communities that you take the downtown area. Some are thriving, lots aren't. Some businesses are making it, many don't. But if you have a quality product with great service in a community that you build for 25 plus years, the clientele is going to come and find you. And JR's is usually when somebody brings up downtown Alex City, I'm like, well, there may be a problem going on at X business, but I can tell you one that's not having a problem. That's JR's, because every time I'm in there, it's packed. And so I think it speaks more and more about how good the food is and how good the service is there. And we appreciate them.
Yeah. Just real quick, trying to do a little promotion. We'll be down in Stillwater. So the other locations, we're going to have a calendar put out so everybody will know where we're going to be on Fridays, but we'll be traveling to Stillwater's, Lake Martin Pizza, both locations, Alex City, the 63, and then the 34 and 49 store down in Dayville, around that area. We'll be over in Auburn at Baumhauer's and Byron's. So just a full slate as we rotate through those particular businesses all the way through football season, Randy. So we're excited about having them on board with our own location on Auburn Blitz.
Well, and find us out there, and you know, you'll be able to see that in a lot of different outlets. We got a new digital board going up on Opelika Road in Auburn, and so we'll pass along to that community some graphics that'll pop up on that board. where we'll be on Fridays. But if you're looking to advertise on sports media, Brett and Faith would love to talk to you. I mean, you can contact me too, and we'll get something set up. But a lot of new content that we're trying to create and push out there, and more than we've ever done before. But for good reason, because we're having extreme growth. And look, I'd like to say that Brett's got the reason that we're having extreme growth right now, and I'd like to act like it was, my brainchild on why everything's going as well as it is. Sometimes it just is the right time.
Yep.
And it feels like our timing's really good now. And for those of you that are finding us on YouTube, which we know a lot of you are, probably closing in on 4,000 subscribers. 2 months ago we had 400 subscribers. Now we have 4,000, and it's 50 to 100 a day. And so it's just found its sea legs, and we're really growing. But we've got to push quality content out there to you, and we're working extremely hard. We always have worked hard, but we're working harder than ever to make sure that it's good content that we're pushing your way.
Yeah, go check out On the Front Row with Faith. Man, these things are awesome. The one with Brendan Valdez came out yesterday afternoon. I get to shoot those and watch them real time, but these kids are phenomenal. And the Auburn golf team and Brendan and the whole Auburn community is embracing these interviews. And it's bringing a lot of notoriety, and Faith's outstanding in these interview settings. She had that training working with Auburn Network last year, and is very comfortable and makes the interview comfortable in a conversational role. So we'll have some more coming out. We filmed one this week with the swimming and diving team, so that one will be coming out next week. So you're going to be seeing that every single week. And Randy, like you and I talked about, it's not just football and basketball. We're gonna do all sports: equestrian, track and field, soccer. Because all these there's so many great stories to tell, so many great athletes. We'll never run out of potentials out there.
Well, there may not be quite as many eyeballs as if you put Malcolm Simmons on the camera and talk Auburn football, but there are very passionate people that have found their way to Auburn. Maybe they were graduates of Auburn, went off, did their deal. This is what I see. When I go to sporting events in Auburn, I see a lot of the same faces. They're retirees that moved back to Auburn, Brett. And part of what they wanted to do is they wanted to retire to a community that's got constant something to do, athletics, people they can support. And they gravitate to all of these sports. And the more that you can build up that storyline around those sports and show the personalities, Major League Baseball's had a knock on them for far too long of just not creating the personalities that they once did. So you can bring that all the way down into the college and the high school ranks. And I hope that we do as good a job as anybody out there. And I'm speaking on the high school ranks of, spotlighting these kids, spotlighting their successes. Brett and I, with our AHSA outlet, we try to make anywhere between 15 and 20 posts a day, spotlighting kids that if we weren't doing it, they wouldn't be spotlighted around the state, and a lot of eyeballs on the successes that they're having. And so it's important to us, but we need you to help us out there. So if you've got storylines that we need to cover, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Got to go to break. Marcel said Alexander City is a great place to live, play sports, close to Lake Martin. New school coming. Great time to be a Wildcat. I can't argue with that, Marcel. A lot of great things going on. Up and down 280, if you look at Auburn and Alexander City, and you look at everywhere between, and the growth, and then just the positivity is phenomenal. And boy, this temperature's warming up outside, means it's lake season, and everybody around here gets excited about that for sure. I know I do. All right, up against another break. Stay tuned. More to come right after this. Yep. So, a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff.
What's the update on the school, Brett? When are they planning on moving in?
Dude, well, I mean, at the latest, it'll be January.
Okay.
But we're staying on. The contractor is continuing to tell us that we're ahead of schedule, and could be as early as handing the keys over to us in November,
Wow.
which is crazy to think about. But, you have a buffer. They technically don't have to turn everything over to us until February, I think, but they're going to be way ahead of that, which is outstanding.
So, of course, this can move. So nobody's holding you to what you're about to say, but what would be ideal? I mean, would ideal be moving in during the Christmas break?
Oh, absolutely, man. Ideal would be getting the keys and the finished product in November. Then you got the month of December to really start getting some things done. And, when the kids come back from Christmas break and they be in the new school. But we're going to go ahead and move in, period. It doesn't matter if it's January or February. We've already made that decision. So for a smoother transition, yes. But if we're 3 weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks into January, we'll do that too. We just, there'll be a buffer window in there where we're able to get some things done. And we have some days to play with in the calendar to kind of help us move. So, but yeah, we want to get those kids in there. We want kids to be able to take advantage of the new facility as soon as possible.
So the old high school would be, so you'd keep everybody in the current schools till next year.
Correct. Yes.
And then clean up the old high school and move middle school over to
got renovations coming. So then we would start all that process of moving everybody in the break.
That's great.
Yep. It's going to be nice, man. It's going to be really, really nice all the way around. It's an upgrade for everybody all the way across the board. So
how's the new track coming, Brett? I've been kind of hot on that.
Coming along. You haven't been out there yet. You need to come.
I haven't. No.
Come up there and go right out there with me. It's phenomenal. It's going to be, man. I had Nick Hand on Lake Martin Sports Roundup this week, and he and I were just talking about the landscape of the Sportplex and all as a whole, and having the school and the facilities out there now and having things all kind of connect. He said, man, he said this was all of our vision forever, and finally to see this. And he was talking about seeing that track facility and what an unbelievable opportunity it's going to be for the city, when the high school brings these meets in. And you've been to them, you've seen them, how many people show up and how many schools.
It's wild.
So it's unbelievable. So, all right, got 10 seconds, and we'll be back for TV. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. A couple segments left in the show today. I want to go back and finish with some Auburn stuff. I told you that, we would talk about some portal needs. The good thing about this Auburn roster is that I look down through here, and we talked about it pretty much this week on the podcast. I look at the depth and where we are. There's only one position I think we would need to go out and get maybe another guy would be tight end, because you got Brandon Frazier, who I think everybody's pulling for to finally stay healthy and do the things that I think we all know he's capable of doing this year. But then you got a couple of transfers in behind him and a former offensive lineman that's moved over in Tate Johnson to play tight end. So you really, you got a lot of guys that haven't had very many snaps at that position at Auburn. So could you go out and get a more veteran guy from somewhere that would be a good piece to add to this tight end room? I think that's a place that you go get.
Well, I think those guys are out there. I think there's probably, 4 or 5 others that Auburn would like to add as, back end pieces that they can bring in a need position. But tight end's definitely one that some programs take advantage of having a great tight end and different schemes in the passing game, and then others don't. And for far too long, we've been concerned about Auburn's offensive efforts as far as getting the ball to the tight end, because that position has become as important, if not the most important receiver position for a lot of teams in the NFL game when they're winning championships. A lot of the championships over the last decade have featured great tight end play. And I can't name the last time that I felt like Auburn really featured a great tight end, if ever. So there's teams that do it and teams that do it well. I think that it is an opportunity out there for Auburn that Fairweather, we semi took advantage of that, but probably not to the level that we would have liked to. So hopefully there's some guys out there that we can go and pick and play and it works out for us.
Well, the reason the tight end is so good for some teams when you got a good one is it's such a hard position to cover. It creates so many mismatches. You know, if you got a really good blocking tight end, it adds obviously help in the run game. And then you got a guy that can release off the line and get out in space, and it makes it very difficult for a linebacker to come up and cover. And then if they get in the secondary, it's hard on those smaller guys. You know, if you got a big guy that can catch the football and run. So it is always a difficult position to cover from a defensive standpoint if you got it. And again, like you said, it adds another whole element to your offense when you can rely on that, and it makes you a lot more dangerous as an offense. But I look at the offensive side. Obviously, the wide receiver room is loaded. I won't go through that. Offensive line, possible starters here. I think 3 of them are cemented in, and Dylan Wade, Connor Lew, and Jeremiah Wright. And then I think the 2 transfers, Xavier Chaplin and Mason Murphy, along with Tall from last year, will be the guys at the tackle position. So, you know, this is a good-looking offensive line from experience and from, you know, guys having to play at a younger age and working their way up through the system, and most of them have stuck around. So Auburn's poised to be pretty good up front.
I think so. We've done so much better when it comes to trying to recruit the high school ranks and develop internally rather than feeling like you've got to go out there and find somebody on the trading blocks to pull in and just piecemeal a line together. You know, Connor Lew, I say this and I'm hopeful that he's going to be the guy this year, Brett, but you need somebody. When we've been really good, we've had somebody that's a first-round offensive lineman go in the NFL draft. And Jason Caldwell has said this 2 or 3 different times on shows with you, but we haven't had that premier guy in far too long. But you need somebody where you go, you know, I don't know what, but we got the best center at the SEC. And if you got the best of anything on the offensive front in the SEC, then you can lean on that guy and everybody else around him. He makes them a lot better too.
Oh, yeah.
So to me, there are other pieces that could be that, but Connor Lew for me could be the all-conference, all-American type that Auburn's been needing.
Yeah, I think the centerpiece that you build around, like you said, and he's going to be poised for a phenomenal year. And you know, to have some guys that he's familiar with around him at the guard position really helps the center. And then we all know how important your tackles are because they protect your quarterback on the back sides. So, yeah, I think Auburn went out and really did a good job in the transfer portal, the first transfer portal window, of picking those 2 guys up. And you actually have some true depth there with DeAndre Carter backing up Dylan Wade and, you know, Seth Wilford backing up Jeremiah Wright. Now you move Dylan Cinda up behind Connor Lew because Braden Joyner exits and goes to Purdue. But, you know, that being said, I think running back position is going to be, you know, running back by committee with Damari Alston, Jeremiah Cobb. You add Alvin Henderson in there, and Darrell Robinson comes in the portal as well from Connecticut. He's a bigger back that I think Auburn's excited about. Didn't see him in spring. He was out during spring. Just like you mentioned earlier in the show, some of these guys on the offensive line, Xavier Miller out. You didn't even have Connor Lew out. Didn't even have all of them, and you still look pretty good. You know, so that's encouraging there. All right, up against the final break of the show. Stay tuned. One final segment coming up right after this. All right, so we got Easter weekend. It's going to be pretty weather.
Spring practice. When does spring practices start, Brett?
May 5th.
May 5th.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of people up there watching. May 16th is the spring game. So we'll carry that on the air.
Friday night?
Yep. May 16th.
Inter squad.
Yep. Maroon white. Yeah, it should be a fun night. Hopefully the weather will be good and get everybody out and see what we got as we head into the off season. And I know they'll be in a lot of camps and stuff this summer. Then you'll blink, it'll be time for the season to start. You know how summer goes by.
Unfortunately.
Like a rocket. Transfer portal window is about to close for basketball. So once you're in it, you're in it. But you can't get in it. I think it's the 22nd that it closes for basketball. And this portal window for football is shorter too. I think it says a lot about both Auburn and Alabama. You hadn't seen a mass exodus of anybody out of the spring for either team. And like you said earlier, and we've talked about it all week, the position guys that left probably was warranted for their betterment. They're doing it to try to get on the field sooner. They're not, it wasn't because they were disgruntled with the place that they were at.
No, I don't think so.
I think it had anything to do with that. I saw J.C. Hart at the A-Day game last Saturday. I was standing beside him. He was cutting up, laughing, and all that. And so I just think sometimes you just have to make decisions that are best for you. All right, we have about 45 seconds, and we'll be back for our final TV segment.
So you said y'all are at Stillwater's next Friday?
Yeah, next Friday. Mm-hmm. I think we're actually going to be at Tessa's place. Eric's going to rotate us through some of those businesses down there.
Got it.
And so I think we'll actually be at Tessa's place. So, which they've got the grocery store and then the new place that's coming, the outdoor kitchen place, and then we'll be at the golf course some. It's just wild. There's so much stuff going on down there. All right, here we go. Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Final segment on the show here as, again, we want to thank all of you that commented throughout the program, and we appreciate that as always. And been doing Saturday Sports Countdown for over 20 years here. It's always a fun show for all of us to jump on, and to be able to do it podcast style now really helps all of us because we're all three in different locations. So it gives us an opportunity to come together. I know we complain about technology on some things, but it sure is great in a lot of other areas, and it's allowed us to branch out and do some different things, with our programming, and gives us a little bit more versatility.
It does, and but I will hit it one more time. If you've got storylines, topics, athletes, communities that we need to spotlight, please let us know. We don't hear enough of it. There's not enough news that comes out anymore in some of these areas. So reach out to us, let us know what those are, and we'll definitely be out to do that, especially with our On the Road show. That's one of our newest content pieces that we're doing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a team that's on a state championship run. It can be an individual that we need to come out and spotlight the community around it. So let Brett and Faith know which areas you'd like us to spotlight, and we'll do that.
Yeah, and we will be at, I'll just tell everybody where we're going to be this week. We're going to be at Horseshoe Bend. Softball team is doing extremely well. I think they've lost maybe 4 or 5 games. I think they're 22 or 23 and 4 or 5. Ranked up there in the top in their classification. So no Hagen Whiter really well. She came through CAC and was a great player in high school as well. And she comes from good background with Kim, and we all love Kim. And so we'll be talking to her and some of her players, and profiling that community. And so we go all over the place. So
Hey, hit on their baseball too, Brett.
Oh,
Congratulations. Horseshoe Bend makes it to the second round of
right.
2A baseball playoffs, winning both games last night. So I don't know how often that's happened, but I don't think it's too often that their baseball programs moved on in the playoffs. So good one to spotlight there too.
Yeah, we're going to cover everybody when we go up there. Just in our initial, looking at why we would go there was the softball team and what they've been doing all year, and just phenomenal effort by them. And again, looking forward to that. The Hewitt Trustful show just came out this week. Had a great time. I thought Maddie and Faith did a great job. I'm really the camera guy, Randy. That's what I've become. I get
Talk about facilities there, Brett.
Very nice. Coach Malden was super nice, and their baseball field is like a lot of these upper class facilities. It's just really, really nice. Have a nice indoor training facility up there at Hewitt, and the school is dedicated, or the community's dedicated to having the best. And when you look at it's not really a true indoor practice facility for football, but it's an open air. Something that we're looking at here for our athletics at Benjamin Russell. And every team can use that facility, not just football. It gives an opportunity when the weather's bad in season for other teams to go in there and practice and not have to go in a gym or call practice off. It just gives you, an added advantage to try to continue to do things that you need to do. So
is it like the one at UAB?
It's exactly like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very nice. I like that.
It's very similar to what we're looking at here from a standpoint of a facility where, you have turf and you have a roof over it, but you have open air on the sides. And, to me, I like that better because, in the wintertime or when it starts getting cold playoff time, you can run in that building and it'll be the temperature be just perfect. But it ain't going to be perfect on Friday night when you're freezing your tail off. You get out of the elements a little bit from like rain and stuff, but you still get the coldness outside, when you're practicing in a facility like that. So, it keeps you kind of in real time of what you're going to expect in a game. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing maybe what's going to happen down the line, possibly with that here in Alex City. But Hewitt Trustful Show, go check it out. We appreciate the Alabama Department of Transportation for being our partner there on that program, and it makes sense. We're on the road and we're all over the place, and the roads take us to all these different communities around the state. So, Randy, that's going to wrap it up here for this edition of the Saturday Sports Countdown. I know both of us want to wish everybody out there a happy Easter. Be safe out there. Take advantage of the beautiful weather, and we'll be back with you next week for more of the Saturday Sports Countdown. For Randy, I'm Brett saying we've enjoyed it. We'll help you out. See you next time.